Hi, my name is Charlie Cochran, and I will be presenting my junior thesis on whether the U.S. government should pursue fair trade or free trade. It is not from the benevolence from the butcher, the brewer, or the baker that we expect our dinner, but for their regard to their own interests. We address ourselves not to our humanity, but to their self-love, and never talk to them of their own necessities, but of their advantages. This quote is from Adam Smith in his book, The Wealth of Nations, and he describes the economic theory that's known as the invisible hand. It follows that individuals will pursue their own interests, which is to sell goods and services to make an income, and consumers to buy goods and services for their own livelihood. So the exchange is always a win-win and satisfies the interests of both sides. This infers that the trades of goods and services acts in such a way to help society, and that an invisible hand is guiding these transactions. This theory furthermore implies that the government does not need to watch over and restrict trade because the invisible hand, or people acting in their own interests, guides itself to help society. Free trade versus fair trade, liberalization or protectionism, protecting the US economy or protecting American jobs. These are some questions citizens and government officials have asked themselves for the last 100 years. These leaders must consider economic freedom within trade as they pursue a healthy economy. Oxford Dictionary defines a free trade as a system of international trade in which there are no limits or taxes on imports and exports. Free trade is the fairest trade, and it needs to be the economic foundation that we rely on. Free trade is an extension of the division of labor and creates an increase in specialization. The division of labor splits up the production process where individuals master different stages and contribute to holistic production. This division leads to the most efficient output of goods and services, and specialization describes individuals or groups prioritizing specific skills to contribute to society. Now, if we open the horizon to the globalization of specialization, it has different developments. The countries take this theory and specialize in the mass production of goods to which they have access. Then the theory of comparative advantage proves how it would be favorable for the countries trading. Comparative advantage is defined by Merriam-Webster as an economy's ability to produce a particular good or service at a lower opportunity cost than its trading partners. Essentially, the theory of comparative advantage implies that countries should prioritize and focus on producing goods that they can create at a lower trading cost. For example, the United States specializes in the production of aircraft, industrial machinery, and agricultural commodities. In Brazil, using its rich soil and environment to produce bananas and coffee more efficiently and at a higher quality than other countries in the world. America and Brazil should prioritize the production of these goods to which they have a greater comparative advantage to and trade global. With countries focusing on distinct types of production, then efficiency and productivity in trading services globally would severely increase, allowing companies to lower prices to maximize profit, ultimately helping the consumer. Secondly, free trade allows firms and businesses to expand their consumer audience that is otherwise restricted, which contributes to a higher quality of life. A business professor of economics at NYU says, "The world as a whole is certainly materially better off under free trade than with no trade at all, and so is the individual nation." He implies that it is favorable for countries to take part in trade. An example of a country opening their market to free trades is Japan in 1858 when they opened their markets. There was a demand for silk and tea around the world, and because of supply and demand, the prices were high. Japan had a great access to silk and tea, and so therefore lowered the prices around the world, helping other countries. Since Japan had a large market, in return, they were able to import wool and cotton, resources they didn't have. Statistics from before Japan liberalized trade to 2 years after proves that they increased their national real income by 65%. National income refers to the monetary value of the entire volume of goods and services produced in the economy during a period of 1 year. By opening to global trade, Japan increased the value of their goods and services by 65% and revolutionized their opportunity and growth as a country. Trading with other countries improved Japan's quality of life with access to wool and cotton, resources they didn't have, and helped other countries who were able to trade for silk and tea. Free trade also creates domestic competition of businesses, which catalyzes technological and productivity advancement and limits the exploitation of consumers. Competition requires businesses to welcome innovations and advancements to improve their productivity and efficiency. Competition always benefits the consumer because businesses are forced to lower their prices or offer higher quality or more attractive produce. Competition keeps prices as an accurate reflection of a society's market. India, Korea, and Mexico are a few countries that after they liberalized trade saw grand margins of productivity increase because of newfound competition. Competition of businesses also limits exploitation potential. If a business has no competition and has market power, then they can raise the prices of produce and keep their consumers that have nowhere else to go. For example, if a pharmaceutics company has a patent on a life-saving drug and has no other pharmaceutical firms competing with them, then they have unlimited power to exploit consumers. With free trade, then it increases competition and allows consumers other places to buy from. This competition keeps domestic firms honest and does not let them get away with exploitation of consumers. At the end of the day, any form or opposition against free trade supports protectionism. Whatever form this protectionism takes, it is no different from the central planning that took place in the 20th century in communist countries such as the Soviet Union, or takes place today in Venezuela, North Korea, and Cuba. Central planning puts reliance and support on the central power of the government. Citizens are subject to the trade barriers and tariffs administered by this power. The great Enlightenment thinker Charles Montesquieu inspired the US Constitution's separation of powers, which gave citizens the freedom of having a checks and balance system. If fair trade was to dominate the United States, then this freedom would be encroached and the central authority would not be restricted. Free trade comes back to the consumer and protects his rights and works out to protect citizens' interests. Centuries since the Industrial Revolution proves that over time, free trade promotes job growth, creates an increase in a nation's quality of life, and strengthens foreign affairs. Today, America is the world's largest importer and exporter, and we benefit immensely from such power. We cannot let idealists weaken America's future power and growth by supporting fair trade. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce released a statement supporting America cannot have a growing economy or lift the wages and incomes of our citizens unless we continue to reach beyond our borders and sell products, produce, and give services to 95% of the world's population that lives outside of the United States. For these reasons, I support that the U.S. must strive to keep free trade a priority for our nation, to strengthen our economy, and support a culture of growth and improving the quality of life. Thank you.